All right, now to the real action. The first round of the NCAA men's tournament. Exciting day, three overtime finishes, handful of upsets, none bigger than the 15 seed Oral Roberts defeating Ohio State in the South region. One seeds Baylor and Hartford had no trouble in their 116 matchups, and the same can be said for the highly seeded Houston and West Virginia. In all, the higher seeds finished the day with a record of 10-6, led by a strong showing from the Big 12. They went 4-0 on the day. I drink plenty of action to get into. What stood out to you yesterday?
All right, so I'm gonna jump into 3 points that stood out to me yesterday. The first of which, I'm not. You named it. It's probably been the biggest story of the tournament thus for Oral Roberts defeating the number 2 seed Ohio State in overtime, and you know I think for the true Big Ten fans that watched the Big Ten this year, they might have seen this coming. I didn't watch the Big Ten in obsess this year, but I watched it enough where I watched Ohio State play Illinois in the Big Ten championship, and I looked at that team and I wasn't overly impressed. Now, with that said, what did I think they was gonna lose in the first round of the tournament? No, but I did think they was gonna lose somewhat, between the first round and Sweet 16. Because I just wasn't like blown away by their performance. And then now they done lost already, and it kind of cemented my thought on that one. But nonetheless, Oral Roberts, listen, we got to understand with this NCAA tournament, we love to use the term Cinderella. We love to use the term underdog. We love, all these terms we use, and we got our first headline. We got our first story. So good luck to Oral Roberts. You know what it is. Holla at your boy. The second point I want to drive home, that I wanted to point out was Syracuse, this 11 seed Syracuse defeating 6 seed San Diego State. Now I know you might be wondering, why in the hell are we talking about Syracuse and San Diego State? Well, this is why. Um, this was supposed to be one of those games of brand versus hard work. And I'm not saying like Syracuse don't work hard, but in this scenario, they are the brand. And I was hearing all this stuff about San Diego State. They got these juniors, they got these seniors, they got they've been rolling, and they don't get as much respect as they should because they play they play in California, and most people are asleep on the East Coast when they play, and this, that, and the third. And then Syracuse came in there with the same 1-2 step they've been doing for years. The zone. Been doing the same step for years, and they still getting people out of here with it. So I'm hearing how Jim Boeheim is, falling behind, and he just don't have it like he used to. And Syracuse is not the feared brand that they once used to be in basketball, and this, that, and the third. But they still came into the tournament and got a win with the same zone they've been doing since '85. So take that for what it's worth. Brand versus hard work. Brand won that one. That stood out to me. And my last point is the overall showing of the ACC conference. I think you mentioned this when we first started talking about how the lack of respect for the ACC. When I think the highest seeds was like Florida State and the other 4 seed. You had like two
Yeah,
4 seeds at the
yeah,
ACC.
Florida State, Virginia.
Okay, and then Florida State goes and loses in the first round.
Well, they haven't they
So,
haven't pl- they haven't played yet.
hold on, who hasn't played yet?
Florida State and Virginia still haven't played yet. The other 5 ACC teams played: Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Clemson, Syracuse, and North Carolina.
Okay. Wait, I must mixed up something then. Okay, so either way, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. So it wasn't an overall good showing for the ACC.
No, no.
Nonetheless, because you had 7 seed Clemson lose to 10 seed Rutgers, like stuff like that. And I'm not trying to beat up on the ACC, but my whole point of bringing them up was this: we was talking about the ACC. First of all, it used to be between the ACC and the Big Ten, right? Big East. I'm sorry, the Big East. Those was like the two elite level conferences, and then you threw the Big Ten somewhere around. Now the ACC is struggling so bad, and I don't know if it's because of COVID. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they're not recruiting as well as they once did, but when you got the Big 12 going 4-0, it seemed like it'd be a changing of the guard as far as the conferences go in the game of NCAA basketball. So that stuck out to me because me being a fan of the ACC conference when it comes to basketball, I'm used to seeing Duke, North Carolina, Florida State, those teams doing their thing, and then the second level of teams like at least being competitive, better than average. That's not what we're seeing this year, and you just seen at the beginning of the tournament. Look what we're seeing. We're not seeing the productivity from them. So with that said, the ACC overall performance not looking good. You didn't get respect from the committee, and now you're actually making the committee right by your performance. So that was my third point that I took away from the first round. So yeah, man, Oral Roberts then toe up everybody's bracket. Syracuse still out here getting dubs with that same stale zone, and the ACC probably need to do a little better as a conference. Those are my three takeaways.
Yeah, I'll start with you where you ended, as I sometimes like to do. Yeah, the ACC was not very good at all yesterday. Now they have had a little bit of bad luck. I mentioned Georgia Tech being without ACC Player of the Year Moses Wright. I believe he contracted COVID or something or the other. So that was a big factor in them going down to Loyola Chicago, who's a pretty interesting team to watch, and be interesting to see how they fare against Illinois in the second round. But Clemson going down to Rutgers, not very good there. Virginia Tech looked pretty good against Florida most of the day, but could not finish the deal. And North Carolina, the North Carolina was a performance that just probably, encapsulated the ACC in general. They got blasted by Wisconsin, and I thought North Carolina would be, probably a team to watch, and maybe a team that could give Baylor a run in the second round, and go ahead and forget about that. Because Wisconsin just came out and they shot the absolute lights out. This guy, Demetric Trice, he was electric. Brad Davison, that had to have been a career game for him. And once North Carolina got down, they don't have the outside shooting to compensate. North Carolina plays a traditional brand of basketball, multiple bigs. They got four big guys they can rotate in and out. They pound the offensive boards, and just a day where it didn't go well. And that was Roy Williams' first loss in the round of 64 ever. He was 29-0 coming into that game. So significant streak.
Times has changed.
Yes, significant streak coming in there. And of course it would be the Syracuse 85 zone that just people can't figure it out. And in an NCAA tournament where Syracuse's zone, it's been in the ACC. It gives people problems, but like you can figure it out when you have the coaches, Tony Bennett, Roy Williams, Coach K. The list goes on and on. They see the zone year in and year out, so they have a better idea of how to attack it. A team like San Diego State and just all these other teams from different conferences from coast to coast. It's hard to prepare. It's hard to really be prepared and simulate that. And that's something that happens seemingly year in, year out. Syracuse just finds a way to sneak on in the tournament as an 11 seed. So they barely got in. And then here we go. We throw this zone at you and you can't figure it out. But beyond that, and Big Ten's got a lot of respect this year. And I think I've said, I've looked at the Big 12 with a little bit more respect than the Big Ten. And it certainly played that way out yesterday. Of course, it probably looks a little bit different if Ohio State handled their business. Then you'd have the Big Ten at 4-1 and the Big 12 at 4-0. But definitely, anytime a 2 beats a 15, it's significant. That was only the 9th time it's happened. Oral Roberts, they get 59 points from 2 players. So 59 their 75 came from 2 different guys. You get a 30 and a 29 performance. You feel bad for Ohio State. They had, this kid, Dwayne Washington, at the end of regulation, had a chance to win it with a little step back 2. He misses it, had 2 big free throw misses in overtime, and then he missed the game time 3. So you feel bad for guys in that situation, but I think all the credit in the world should go to Oral Roberts. North Texas also getting a pretty significant upset over Purdue. So, the Big Ten having two of their higher seeds knocked out. And I always find, this interesting. And because you talk about these overtime games, I always feel like the team that is, the better team on paper and the team with from the bigger conference, the longer the game goes, the more likely that team should probably win. And it's just interesting how that didn't turn out that way yesterday. Ohio State got 5 extra minutes against Oral Roberts. They couldn't overpower them. Purdue gets 5 extra minutes against North Texas. They couldn't overpower them. So, just interesting how that works. And I got to throw in one more nugget. I wasn't watching this game terribly closely, but my God, Tennessee, you just had to do it. You had to give the Pac-12 one win yesterday, and the only game the Pac-12 appeared in. I didn't even know. I couldn't tell you anything about Oregon State basketball, but Oregon State,
it wasn't even just a win. Like they
just
went in there
wire to wire. Just it didn't look like it was particularly close the whole way.
No, it wasn't.
But lots more to get to. We got the West and East brackets. That means Gonzaga. That means Michigan will get underway, and
that means Alabama.
Alabama will get underway. And before you completely bury the ACC, they still do have their two best teams can maybe salvage something. I think Florida State and Virginia, they got great chances to get to the Sweet 16. So they both can handle their business. They can salvage a little bit, and you never know. That Syracuse zone maybe they can throw West Virginia off, and they can keep moving. We shall see.